Jimenez from high school. He's an old friend of mine. We went to the college together, and there's only one thing I would like to tell you about him. And this is kind of an advice for everybody. If you want to be better in what you do, bring around you people who are better than you. He is better than me. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Hello everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here and try this experience. I have spoken in public before, but never in a context like this one. I must apologize for my voice. Apparently spring is near and you know, rejuvenation, rebirth of bacteria and viruses and germs, and they're all there sharing and caring. And yeah, actually the character that Katerina was talking about earlier is right here. You're going to see him in a few seconds. Today I'd like to talk to you about the benefits of being curious and hopefully to establish some connection with your interest, learning English, but also with personal development as a whole. So let's get on with it. Well, the cornerstone, and it should be here. I have it on my laptop, but not here.
Trebuie să deschizi două și doar numai presentation. Două și pe a doua. Sau închide una din ele și două doar numai presentation.
Okay. Maximize presentation.
F5. My F5 doesn't work.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes, my hand is playing tricks on me.
Yeah, oh, that one. Okay, and let's see if I have it now. Yes, there you go. Meet the cause for my throat problem, my sore throat. Yes, I actually got it from him. I'd like us to build this whole discussion about curiosity, starting from something like this picture. And the question that I'd like you to consider is, why? Why do we find them so adorable? Not just my son, them all. Why do we like them so much?
Because they are tiny.
Okay.
Innocent.
We like tiny creatures. Yes, they're small, dominant. Yeah, cute. Any other thought?
Mini versions of us.
Little versions of ourselves, okay.
They look helpless.
They look helpless, so we like people who look helpless.
Not necessarily.
No, I'm not criticizing. This is interesting and positive.
We feel the need to help them to get involved in their life.
Yes. Anything else?
Yes.
Because there's got to be 1,000 reasons.
Innocence.
Their smell.
Their smell. Their innocence.
They are explorers.
What's that?
They are explorers.
They are explorers. Yes. Indeed, they explore the apartment, turning it upside down. They explore everything. They explore your hair. Don't remind me.
They are probing your mind.
Yes. Well, one thing is definitely not certain about them, how successful they're going to be. But we like them so much, and we tend to think they're so perfect. How do they get from being perfect to being, well, all those people you see walking down the street? That's so perfect. How do we get from this embodiment of success to so many defects and so many problems? Sorry. Well, I started thinking a bit about what we do for success, what we invest our money into, what we like to focus on. And I have a couple of examples, I think. Well, here's a birthday celebration. You invest a lot of money trying to make those children feel good. How? They got it wrong somewhere. Not sure.
Wrong side.
Yeah, you could put it that way as well. Yeah, failure, and they tried so hard. Here's a nice tattoo. Too cool for school. Where's the failure? Where's the failure in that?
In the name, school with
Age.
without age.
Oh, the spelling. Yeah, maybe you should go to school because you get the spelling right. There's an H, hush, right there. Yeah.
The guy who made the tattoo didn't go.
Exactly. Not
Yeah.
wearing it.
Yeah. So embarrassing. Yeah. Definitely failure. Okay. And sometimes, so often, unfortunately, our holidays, we slave around, work so hard all year round, only for this, and sometimes it's such a failure. I'm sure, I speak from my own experience, and I'm sure we can all go back and think about holidays, vacations that we took, and that really didn't turn out the way we expected them to. Yeah, it looks ideal here, doesn't it, in our mind when we plan it. Failure, again, don't remind me of, well, my job. Such a race, such competition, trying to be the best in your class, only to, I don't know, sometimes possibly even end up having gathered all those tens and all those awards and then having no job, or working for the classmate who always got a 5 and a 6 and a 4. Such a failure so often, education, and yet we try so hard, we invest so much. Life is full of examples of failure. I'm just selecting a couple of them. So then I try to look at some examples of things we get right. Here's this series of TED conferences. Everybody now loves them, everybody likes them. What do they do that's so good? And I'm familiar with TED conferences and TED speeches, the website. What do you like about them?
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Okay, that's good. That's good, I agree. The passion for life.
Fresh information.
Fresh information, always informative.
Different stories.
Different stories, yeah, never boring.
Yeah,
Successful
different
people.
backgrounds always.
Maybe it's fresh perspective.
Yeah, a fresh perspective sometimes. Yeah, just one or two examples. Here's a different kind of success. That's Untold Festival. I could have picked any other festival. That's definitely a success. I've never been to one, but I'm told it's a success. All of these successful people, successful ventures, projects, how do they get it right? Because, you know, we'd like to know the recipe. Well, I'm sure there's 1,000 answers. I'm only interested in, well, my job, my topic of interest, learning English. Yeah, and I'm very interested in my youngest son. So, how is all this failure and success connected to what babies have? I'd like to ask you to consider that one feature, although there could be so many. Curiosity about the world around. And let's see how that plays out. First of all, my job, as I was saying, is success. What we see there is curiosity connected to this picture. Is this picture connected to what those little babies have? Well, they don't look curious. They don't look like explorers, you were saying. Don't even look all that cute, some of them. Some of them. Yeah. Failure, again. And here's the example of one of my colleagues constantly yelling at students, telling them to speak. Well, you're students of English, speak. What else have you got to do than speak? Yeah, it didn't really work. because of course fear is not the way forward, is not a solution. It doesn't work that way. Definitely doesn't. Okay, so then what? Being curious, I'd like to suggest to you, is very much being alive. And I'm afraid that sometimes as we grow old, I'm old, as we grow old, we tend to lose our ability to stay alive, to be awake, to be alert, curious, and to naturally learn and absorb things around us. Look at Saint-Exupéry's famous drawing from The Little Prince. You know, the experiment he had with people. What is this? He suggested, you know, the picture at the top. And all those boring, sleepy, somehow dead adults said it's a hat, it's a chapeau. But many children looked at the shapes, oh, that's an elephant, of course. But they didn't see this, they just saw that. How did they see an elephant? I don't know. Yeah, they had that alertness in them. They have it naturally. It's our job to keep it and nurture it and develop it and somehow learn how to be babies throughout our lives. So then, being curious is great, and I would strongly recommend it because it keeps you motivated. Who doesn't want to be motivated? Because it keeps you focused, and most of my students are not focused. It's like they have ADD or something, that they're just not able to focus for a couple of seconds on one simple task. They get distracted all the time, or they're in the business of distracting others. Yeah, focus. When you're curious, you are naturally focused. It makes you independent, autonomous. It makes you, like in the speech that our colleague was giving earlier, and it definitely makes you somehow smarter because you have so many resources. You tend to somehow get so many ideas, find so many different ways of solving a problem. Don't mention thinking outside the box. So how exactly do we keep this curiosity, develop it? Because these are all big words. And I know I'm not supposed to talk about myself, but I thought, I'd put my actions where my words are and suggest to you, show you the example of one particular project I got involved in. This isn't in any way a commercial presentation because you're probably not my target group, but who knows, you could be. So I'm not trying to recruit you. So, how exactly? Well, if you are learning English, because this is what we're talking about specifically, everybody knows it's amazingly useful to watch, films. Maybe not any kind of film, but something that focuses on everyday life. So you could get everyday vocabulary and structures. So situational comedies, you pick yours. I like news satire shows, like Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, just love that guy. But this is a matter of taste, so don't judge me if you don't like him. It's very good for your language. And I like documentaries, especially all of these things with English subtitles on. Now what's this got to do with the theory before? Well, it focuses first of all on you being curious, being interested in what's going on in the world, in Ghana, in the Republic of Moldova, in whatever, you name it, the Basque country, and so on and so forth. It makes you curious about life and therefore naturally learn English. I have this sad realization about my job. Most of my excellent students speak American English. Their accent is American. But I try hard to speak British English. So if I'm such a good teacher, how come my best results are not what I taught them? Well, where did they learn their English?
From movies.
Yeah, probably not
Games.
from the Grand Master. Probably not. Yeah. You gotta live with what you have. Being curious about the world could, in this case, learning English, involve reading magazines and books. And it's great not to read just anything, or anything that's high quality and recommended, but specialized magazines and specialized books, texts that focus on your field of interest. If you're an accountant, if you're a doctor, if you love economics, don't worry about focusing too much on this. Read all the books you can on that particular topic. I'm sure that you'll get vocabulary from all sorts of different areas. So yes, it's some sort of natural assimilation. Now, that's what we already know. I'm trying to step into what I'd like to suggest to you. Okay? Some of the students that I've enjoyed and actually liked very much learned a lot of English simply because they cared enough to volunteer. In this particular case that I'm thinking of, it was the Medical Mission Foundation, some Americans coming to all sorts of places in the world, including Romania, to help, basically, to perform surgery, to treat, cure people, children, and maybe not so highly developed parts of Romania. Well, these students of mine helped them, because those American doctors, whatever, they needed a translator to hang out with them all day round. Now, they dedicated their time, they just helped, sometimes they did work, simple work. What they got was natural English. English in a context, because they cared, because they were involved, because they were curious. Is this like an English classroom? No, and yet it works so well. It does, it does. Okay, so then, recapping. I would say what I would recommend to you is to dare to challenge existing limitations in your life, in your context. To try to think that it's possible to break them somehow. And I'm going to explain. Don't focus so much on the actual act of learning English, or whatever technical skills you may be trying to learn, but in this case, we're talking about English. Just focus on reality. Just be curious, be alert, and do that in English, and it will take care of itself. Okay? So don't focus on learning English. Don't ask me for more exercises or whatever. Okay? Yeah, stay curious. Constantly interested in all the apparently boring, meaningless details around. Definitely try and get involved in your immediate community, but also in your global community. Whether it's volunteering or just trying to learn about, understand about what's happening around you. And here's a nice acronym I made for you. You need gas if you want that energy that will last you a lifetime. And GAS stands for give, assist, and share. Because somehow we're so strangely built to receive when we give, and religion teaches us that. Okay, so I'm going to take each of these tips and see how I managed more or less successfully to apply them in my project. My project took place in Botoșani because I lived there for a number of years.
I'm from Botoșani.
Uh-huh. Great. Actually like the place very much. I do. So here it is. That's the name of my project. It's some sort of a conference competition for teenagers and adults, and it's actually a simulation. Now, I think simulations are great because you cannot always have all that reality I was talking about accessible right next to you. So simulating. Well, it all starts from the findings of one of my favorite psychologists, which I recommend to you if you want to do some reading, Daniel Gilbert. Yeah, he's on TED. You can find him, yeah, from Harvard. And this isn't a direct quotation, but his theory is that we are endowed, that we're born with some sort of ability to simulate experience, to think about what it would be like, and to just somehow close our eyes and feel what's actually not here. Okay, it's getting weird. Don't get too worried. He says, you could live something that you don't actually have. You could. And it would basically be the same for your heart and mind, for your personal development, whatever. What's this got to do with everything? Well, every year we gather students from around the country and from abroad. We've had participants from a number of other countries in Otoshan. And we ask them to simulate the experience of being a high-level diplomat, an ambassador, who actually has the power to discuss and find solutions to some of the most delicate problems in the world. So, you're just a kid. All you've ever cared about was food, music, fun. Here you are. Do you have anything nice to wear at home? Yeah, okay. Go be a diplomat. Find the solutions to our problems. Okay? So let's see what they did. And I'm gonna review those tips, see how they played out. Well, I asked you to dare to change existing limitations, didn't I? Yeah, well, this had never been done before in Botoshan, and it had never been done in much of the country when I started a couple of years ago. So I had no clue what I was trying to start to organize. I really didn't know how to do it. I only know how to teach grammar. I'm a teacher. Get my salary, go home.
Watch TV.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel very guilty. I didn't really have a qualified team. And anyway, the team in this case is about 40 high school students, some of them middle school, so like gymnasium, but most of them high school students and some of them university students, so former students of our school. That was my team, so you can imagine how much they knew about organizing an event with every detail. And maybe most importantly, who comes to a conference in Botoshan? I asked myself, and everybody asked me that. Now I even tell some of my students here in Yash at Feminine School, what do you think of that? Would you like to try that conference? And they usually kind of roll their eyes and say, oh, really? Where is that exactly? Yeah. Oh, why not Bucharest or something? But here's one counter-argument. I'm very interested in debate. Debate in Romanian too. Yeah, some of my students actually won championships and everything. Well, the capital of debate in Romania, the capital of debating, public speaking in Romania is Sfântu Gheorghe. It is. You might not have known that, but the biggest debate championship with by far the largest number of participants is not in Ploiești, where we have good experts. It's not in Bucharest or Cluj or Iași. It's Sfântu Gheorghe. The championship is called St. George, City of Debate. Weird. If they managed in Sfântu Gheorghe, Well, I told myself I can do it in Botoșan. Bit better. Yeah. And I did actually. It's now officially recognized as a national contest by the ministry, but it's actually international, so I don't really care very much about their recognition. Next, don't focus on learning English. Well, yeah, what I wanted was to teach them English, but these weren't lessons. This was an experience in organizing, in time management, in teamwork, and for the other people, not the organizers, but the participants, you know, the diplomats. This experience really managed to stimulate them and motivate them. Why? Because it's not about the English lesson. What is it about? Well, you succeed and you are the best and you get the awards if you care about the topic, if you really care about those particular topics. I'm going to give you examples in a few seconds. If you do your research in advance, you really need to know. At some point, one of the topics was the Republic of Moldova. You know, who cares about that? Well, we do. If you're able to convince your colleagues, not your teachers, you have to imagine 200 students walking around like crazy, perfectly organized, not one teacher around. No, they organized their own job. Yeah, I was somewhere mopping the floor at some points, really. And I didn't really get involved. I didn't say, you're good, you're bad. Because they have to convince their own colleagues in order to win. As you do here, you know, as public speakers. And they always make lots of language mistakes. So, yeah, it's not about focusing on the actual act of learning English. The result is that their English becomes better. And it looks very good on their college application, whatever, resume, CV, dossier. Stay curious, I would say. Yeah, here's the flyer that I have for this year. I'd just like you to take a look at some of the topics. For example, in the Economic and Social Committee, because we have 4 different committees, different areas of life, we're focusing on, for example, banning the import of products from countries where child labor is still permitted, like most of our t-shirts, for example, coming from Thailand, from some child who never sees daylight. Yeah, what do we do about that? Speaking of feeling guilty, okay, we're curious. Fiscal regulations, what to do about the fact that different countries have different level of taxation. Is that fair? Is that okay? There are tax havens, paradis fiscal. Kids dealing with these issues and being coherent and coming up with serious resolutions. Or in the political committee, should the UN have permanent members with veto power, like Russia, preventing action in Syria for so many years, and if you ask me, being actually guilty for what goes on there, for what still is going on. Or, that dependence of political parties on large corporations. How do you make politicians independent from big business and big money? Yeah, we want to know what happens in politics. Kids don't care about politics. But here, they're the diplomats, and they suddenly care, interestingly enough, because of the simulation thing. It's all a game. And here's the other criterion. Get involved in your community. It's for them a way to get involved, to say they care, to say they're ready to do things. That life isn't all about how much fun they've had today and how much alcohol they've had and how many bombs they've lit or whatever. Here are the other committees, human rights. If that doesn't focus on their global community, the rights of economic migrants. Yeah, do they have any? I'm not talking about political migrants, refugees, oppressed people, but these people who just flee their country run away from their country because it's poor. Do they have a right to be received? We've had a debate in Romania about, Syrian refugees and all that. Access to the internet. What if we could make it a human right? What if we could force people in, Ghana or whatever, Nigeria, to give access to the internet to everyone? And if they don't do, it's like they don't give them their basic rights, like freedom of speech or education. I'm not suggesting these things, I'm just asking them to consider these topics. They don't have to say yes, they have to say, is it doable, is it not doable, what could we do about it? UNESCO, focusing on culture and education. I'll just give you one example about focusing on this culture of pleasure that we have today, where life has no meaning if there is no pleasure in it. Should authorities condemn that? Should authorities do something about that? Many of us in our private conversations say that's bad. Yeah, but are we actually prepared to do something about it? Is it a politician's business? These are just questions, okay? So yeah, it is all about getting involved. It really motivates those students to read, to write, to make speeches, to step out in front and try to convince the others. It gets all that English moving, all because they're curious and they're involved, okay? And yes, there is a bit of giving, a bit of assisting, because those 40 kids that I was talking about, here they are, a whole auditorium, theater, clapping, giving them a round of applause. They just sacrificed their time, and so did I, without, of course, any payment at all. But they feel that they're gaining a lot, these kids. And some of them are quite young, some of them look older, but they're not. That tall guy, 8th grade, and this is maybe 5th or 6th grade. Yeah, 6th grade. But most of them, high school. They run around making sure that the participants have food, coffee, that we stick to the timetable, that we don't run out of paper, whatever. And then they do a lot of that. I guess what attracts people to this particular event, including to, Potoshan, is that energy and that authenticity that you were talking about when referring to, thank you, my baby. Okay, so here they are. Remember those bored kids from the other picture? Well, maybe some of them look bored here, but trust me, they're not, because otherwise they wouldn't be spending their time here. They wouldn't be sacrificing 3 days just to be here. They don't get any reward. No nota 10 la engleză, nothing at all. Nothing at all. They just get to impress their own peers, their own classmates, schoolmates, fellow debaters, and that's how they win. They don't impress a teacher, they impress the others, because they need their votes. Just like in the actual United Nations, you need to get their votes by speaking, not doing other things. Okay? Yeah, a lot of giving. A lot of giving here, because it's never about yourself. If you're one of those prima donnas, self-absorbed genius, you don't win in this event. And you don't win in life. It has to be about how you manage to make a team. They're all out there to win. And yet you manage to get them around you to be your team. How do you do that when you're a kid? And yet they do. They cooperate and collaborate. I think because of reality, that's why. Because it's true, it's authentic, it's genuine. Okay? The rewards, not this. Although, maybe the vanity, I get interviewed, it's in the papers. It's much better when I know that I've done something meaningful and those kids are happy. For them, it's not necessarily being in front such a big theater. That's the school's, whatever, amphitheater. One of them, because it has two. It's not just being in front of all those kids, because if you're there and you say nothing, you will obviously make a fool of yourself and not feel good about it. You have to say something meaningful. You do, okay? So meaningful experience, that's what I would recommend, yes, for learning English. Remember, we're still talking about verbs, irregulars, and verb forms and all that. Meaningful experience, that's what you need. Some of these kids travel from around the country to be there. This isn't the only meaningful experience in the country, can I say that, of course. I just like to talk about my own example. So the question is, what if you had the power, to get involved? Would you do it? You might fail. It might not turn out to be anything. I guess you need to try so many times before you actually get one kind of sort of success. But what if you do succeed? What if you feel you've done something fancy, nice, true? Then you would actually get that feeling. So basically, that's my story, and that's why I love BT and UN, Potoshan Model United Nations, because it keeps me and it keeps those 200 kids alert, curious, and motivated, which I strongly recommend to you too.